I want to pose this question to the Cowboys fans and the Tolos because, we were talking about earlier the accident that Jerry Jones was unfortunately involved in. He's going to be okay. Obviously, the video can be seen. Troy Hughes put that out, at Tommy Sledge on Twitter via TMZ there. But it just felt like just another thing this offseason that has been a rough offseason, whether it be on the field, off the field, and how things have ended since the playoff loss to the San Francisco 49ers. And obviously, last week we had the NFL draft. Tyler Smith, the number 24 overall pick for this team. You're hoping is your starting left guard by the time we get to week 1 of this year's NFL season. Have Cowboys fans lost their patience? Has patience run out for Cowboys fans who have looked at this franchise after what happened in the playoffs, the losing of certain individuals, Amari Cooper, La'el Collins, Randy Gregory, among others, and now the draft that they had? While you feel like if you're the Cowboys organization, you did what you have to do to address needs, but I think for people on the outside looking in, not necessarily the most exciting draft, if you will. And it's never necessarily going to be exciting when you draft an offensive lineman.
No, but, there's nothing wrong with that. Teams draft, like the Steelers drafted offensive linemen before.
The Cowboys done it.
The Cowboys have done it before. A lot of these great teams, great franchises draft offensive line. There's nothing wrong with drafting offensive line in the first round. I may not want to go with a center or a guard necessarily in the first round, but I could be talked into it. Zach Martin certainly was worth it. Travis Frederick certainly was worth it. Hopefully Tyler Smith is not a guard for long, but he hopefully is worth it as well. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. We've seen teams draft a pair of offensive linemen in the first round before, and you know what they did? They didn't have to worry about the position for a decade.
Yeah. There's stability when you look. Sometimes the not so sexy picks are the ones that make the most difference. Zach Martin, Travis Frederick, Tyron Smith. Those guys have been or were stalwarts on this offensive line for years. And you're hoping that Tyler Smith obviously becomes one of those people. I posed this question on Twitter at Kevin Gray Sports, and I got a varied amount of responses when it came to whether or not people have felt like the patience has run out with this team, given the lack of championship success that they've had over the past 26 years. Here's one response on Twitter. I've been a fan for 30 years. If it hasn't by now, it's never going to. I unconditionally love them even when they don't deserve it. Another response. Been a fan since the 70s, and their lack of urgency and willing to get with the latest trends that are successful now are frustrating. I have them on the clock. Fans seem more hungry for a chip than the front office. One more, for example. Patience ran out years ago. At this point, I'm just a sucker for pain. That just gives you just some of the idea of how some Cowboys fans are feeling. If you were a fan on the outside looking in, has your patience run out for this team when it comes to the lack of success and now all the things that have happened this offseason just make you feel like, you know what, here we go again, another merry-go-round?
No, look, I think we need to change expectations a little bit. This is a salary cap league. This isn't 1992 anymore, where you build a team and then you win 3 titles and then you move on. Or the Niners in the 80s. The best team doesn't win anymore. The hottest team wins. The luckiest team wins. The team with the best quarterback wins. This has become more and more of, if you don't have the best quarterback in the NFL, it becomes more increasingly difficult for you to win. And the Cowboys don't have the best quarterback in the NFL. They got a tremendous one. And there is nothing wrong with the guy they have. And I'm going to defend that dude until I have to. No more. Because he deserves to be defended. He is a tremendous quarterback. But he ain't Patrick Mahomes. And he's not Josh Allen. He's not Aaron Rodgers. And until you're one of those 3 guys, you're going to need one thing to win. Luck. You got to bounces go your way, injuries go your way, or don't come your way, I guess that's just saying.
Right.
And then you need to have a favorable road. Like look at the Rams this year. The Rams got a little lucky that the Cardinals basically hated themselves down the stretch. Then they beat Arizona in what was a home game. And then they got lucky that the Cowboys lost to San Fran, so they didn't have to go to Green Bay. And then they got lucky that Green Bay lost to San Fran, so they didn't have to go to Green Bay in the next round.
Right.
And then they got lucky that Kansas City lost to Cincinnati because they'd have gotten worked by the Chiefs, I think, or the Bills. The Bengals had no business being there. They won a playoff game. Derek Carr had first and goal from the 9. Ryan Tannehill threw 3 picks. And the Chiefs were up, 21-3 or whatever that game? They blew it. They had no business being there. They had to get lucky to get there. So the Rams win 3 games by 9 points in the postseason, and all is fine.
And don't forget that Jaquiski Tart dropped interception.
The dropped interception. Like, all these things had to fall right for the Rams to not look like they lost the trade with Detroit because they gave up so many picks.
But all's well that ends well.
They
right? Won a championship.
They're fine. They won the championship. They won the trade. History is written by the winners. And great. Knock it out. Knock it out of the park. But that's what it took. And look what we've had. We've had a Dez catch that didn't go our way. We had Mason Crosby make 2 inexplicable field goals. In a game.
Aaron Rodgers and Jared Cook.
One of the greatest throws of all time.
Right.
So, okay. It's just been a little unfortunate. So my expectations have changed. I'm looking more of you know what? Do the process the right way. Eventually it'll fall right. I know it's very Jason Garrett of me to say that, but that's just how I go through life.
And also
do your day the right way. Eventually things will fall through.
Yeah.
And I just don't. I never take my own advice.
You're good for that.
Yeah.
And I say this quickly because I think for a lot of people, the Cowboys draft is a draft that projects more toward the future than it does the right now, because you're hoping that several of these guys turn into the kinds of players that will help you not just win now, but also into the future. And you feel like that this team was close to be able to winning going into this upcoming season. And now that they've taken the steps back with certain guys, even if you feel like those guys were not going to be part of winning going forward, they did take steps back. This draft class needs to hit in order to be that way.